Today on the 1012 softball show, myself, Eric, and Lea are discussing Texas Tech and if they have a stranglehold on the Big 12 race already. What's wrong with UCF, and our thoughts on who Big 12 Pitcher of the Year, Player of the Year, and Freshman of the Year are at this point in the season. A look ahead to Week 10 slate, and Oklahoma State head coach Kenny Gajewski joins the show to talk about the current state of cowgirl softball.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was getting frustrated by your forms. Now, Taxes is uploading your forms with a snap, and a TurboTax expert will do your taxes for you. One who's backed by the latest tech, which cross-checks millions of data points for absolute accuracy, all of which makes it easy for you to get the most money back, guaranteed. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
We're shipping Easter gifts with a rapid-fire round of questions. Ready?
Yes. My gift. Can you pack it?
Yep.
Ship it?
Yes.
Guarantee it?
Of course.
Oh, send gift baskets?
For sure.
Protect electronics? Dog-proof it? Return it if they hate it?
Yes, no, and yeah.
Are you the UPS store?
Hey, we have a winner!
Visit the upsstore.com/guarantee for full details. Most locations are independently owned. Product, services, prices, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Visit a store today.
Welcome to the 1012, the podcast that covers all 16 teams in the Big 12 Conference. We are the flagship show of the 1012 Network. Find every show on the network at 1012network.com. And of course, we are partners with Sports Social, Europe's biggest sports podcast network. I'm your host, Phillip Slavin. Thank you for joining us for the 1012 softball show. It is Thursday, and on Thursdays, we talk softball, and we includes myself, of course, and my two absolutely illustrious co-hosts. He is the voice of UCF softball, one of the voices of Big 12 softball. He is one half of the In the Circle podcast, and he is the bracketologist when it comes to college softball. He is Eric Lopez.
Hello. Who knows how my equipment will work today, folks, but I'm glad to be here nonetheless.
It'll work or it won't. That's okay. It might just be one of those shows. Usually it's Lea who's having technical difficulties, but not today. That Lea, of course, is the trash talk queen of the 1012 Network, the most famous Iowa State softball alum there is, the mother of the Cycloneers, and the best friend to Baylor softball coach Glenn Moore. She is Lea Nelson.
I like that. And don't put me on blast about my equipment. It was one time, maybe two, maybe three.
It's okay.
Every time.
No one, look, any podcaster or anyone who's done a podcast at any point in time knows it happens to us all. We all have legendary lost episodes. Like things just happen. They happen. Okay.
Trust me, I sympathize this week. I can tell you that.
That's no good. We do have an interview on this show that has not been lost. One of my favorite guests every season, of course, Oklahoma State head coach Kenny Gajewski is on the show. Have really good conversations about the offensive struggles, what's up with the defense, the issues of pitching behind Ruby Meylan, the culture there in Stillwater. It's a really good interview. Really honest answers from Coach Gajewski. Really appreciate him joining us, and we will get to that coming up a little bit. But we're going to start this show off, and me ignoring what's happening in Oklahoma City and Bedlam, by talking about the team that's sitting atop the standings in the Big 12 Conference. That is the Texas Tech Red Raiders. They just keep sweeping everybody. They just sweep. They've dropped one game in conference play so far. That was their Game 3 against Oklahoma State at the start of conference play, all the way back in early March. They haven't lost a Big 12 game since then, yet they sit at just 22nd in the RPI as of time of recording. They've got Houston coming up this week, and we'll talk about that shortly on a series I would expect them to sweep as well. So here's the question I have to pose to you. Texas Tech still has 4 Big 12 series left to go. Houston, at Arizona State, and at BYU. Sitting behind them, just 4 games back, are Arizona, who has just 3 conference series left. They're at 10-5. BYU and Iowa State both at 7-5. They have 4 series left as well. Of course, Texas Tech will play BYU. I look at this and I say, I know it's not set in stone yet, but I can make whatever thought, prediction, feeling I want. I think Texas Tech is going to win the Big 12 regular season. And barring some sort of catastrophic injury, I just don't see how anyone else is going to catch up to them.
Well, specifically Nyjah Kennedy's the injury you're referring to.
Knock on wood. I'm not gonna. No, we don't even want to have that out in the ether. Okay, I do not want to be held responsible if something happens.
Leah, you're the witness. That's who he called out because that's what it's going to take. I agree with you. I think this regular season race is over because as long as Nyjah is healthy, at worst, outside of the Arizona series, which we could put to a side, they should at minimum win 2 out of 3 the rest of the series, all the other series, at a minimum. So it's going to be tough to catch them. I think the scenario where maybe Arizona sweeps them next week, and then now all of a sudden it gets interesting. But I'm not betting against Nyjah Kennedy. That's not something I'm interested in making a business out of.
I had in my notes, something bad would really have to happen for Texas Tech to not finish at top, and I just have to say I called it from the beginning. So
that's losing Gloria Riasetto, right? That's the bad thing that would happen that would cause that. Not anyone else on that team.
Right.
Look, Texas Tech again. They are sweeping everyone except for the top teams. I'll say Oklahoma State. I wouldn't expect them to sweep Arizona, but I don't expect Arizona to sweep them either.
No,
Texas Tech's going to find a way to get one of those games. Maybe they drop a game at Arizona or against Arizona State at home. Maybe they go to Provo and drop a game against BYU. But we're talking about Arizona being 4 games back. Yes, they have fewer games left to play in Big 12 play. I could absolutely see them going to Kansas and sweeping Houston on the road. Like Arizona, to have a real shot at this, would have to sweep their last 6 Big 12 games or last 9 Big 12 games and have Texas Tech lose enough for them to catch up. Like that's the only way. And I just don't see that happening.
No. And we've talked about how hard it is to sweep in Big 12 and to say that Arizona would have to do it for the rest of the season is just it's almost not impossible, but
the only series they've swept so far this season was against Utah. And 2 of those games were close. They won game 2, 8-6, and game 3, 3-0. And so, I mean, you lost a game to Arizona State. You lost a game to BYU. You lost a game to Oklahoma State. Arizona's not going to sweep the last 9 games. They're not. I'm sorry, of Big 12 play. They've also got some more non-cons, a couple of against New Mexico State and a couple against San Diego State. But they're not going to go 9-0 in the rest of Big 12 play. It's just too hard to sweep, and the middle of the Big 12 is good. Like BYU's a solid team. That's why they got to win from them. Houston, I mean, sure, you could sweep Houston, and maybe they can sweep Kansas on the road this weekend. But would anybody be shocked if Arizona dropped 1 game to Kansas? Olivia Bruno had a phenomenal game in the circle. Kansas got just enough timely hits for a 3-2 kind of Kansas win. It wouldn't shock me, like, at all. It's just Arizona's good, but it's hard to sweep. So I think Texas Tech's got this in the bag. I do. So we all agree there. Eric, I want to talk to you a little bit about. I'm just not going to worry about that game anymore. I'm just going to close that. I don't need to follow the stats of it while we're having a chat. It's just
clearly, folks, clearly he's worried about. He's clearly worried about Baylor and UTSA. That's clearly. Yes. Absolutely. The Bears need to rack up some wins. I mean, Iowa State took care of their business. I don't know what
that's what I'm talking about.
That's the game. I was the one I was worried about. Were you that right, Leah?
I was a little nervous, but
it was
9-1. Like because these are the games that we talked about. Like they got to win. They can't let up. And those midweek games.
It was 2-1 with bases loaded and 2 outs, and Iowa State got out of it and then had a massive inning and ran away with it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Arizona State won their doubleheader today against on the road against UTEP. Eric, I want to talk about your team, UCF. I say your team, the team that you cover, the team that you are the voice of, the team that you know well in the Knights. UCF had that great start to Big 12 play, win their first 2 games against Arizona, take that series. Since then, they're 2-8 in Big 12 play. They got the win over Florida, the midweek game. That was a big one for UCF. But 4-8 in conference play at this point. They've really struggled since the Arizona series. I mean, just flat out. And to some extent, Florida's been struggling right now. So, I want to give UCF full credit. Should we be worried about UCF the rest of the way?
I think the worry the rest of the way, I think we'll know the answer after this weekend. I think this series is a big weekend series for both UCF and BYU for different reasons. We could get into the BYU aspect from a resume standpoint, but for UCF, they're going to go back on the road to Provo. They just split in Oklahoma where they beat, they lost Oklahoma, but beat, a team in St. Thomas that's a top 100 RPI team. The concern is which offense shows up on a daily basis. They're young, very young offense. And with youth, and Lea could speak to this better than I can because she played the sport, with youth, you just don't know on a daily basis who's showing up. So to me, I think this weekend will give you the answer that you're looking for, Phillip, because I thought they showed some positive signs in the last game against Baylor. Baylor was a psychological thing there. Baylor had swept them last year, beat them 4 times because they eliminated them in the Big 12 championship. They just couldn't score on Baylor until that Sunday game. So now I'm very curious to see how they do against Korth and BYU in the altitude there in Provo. And then how's that young pitching staff going to do? Because here's the thing. This is a big series because after this series, they got Oklahoma State coming. And that's going to be an Oklahoma State team that I have a feeling is going to be really focused. Despite what Phillip says, Oklahoma State will be ready to play there next week in Orlando. So if you're UCF, you got to get results this weekend. You don't want to depend on trying to get results with Oklahoma State. That being said, after these 2 weeks for UCF, conference-wise, they host Houston, who's scuffling, go to Kansas. So it is manageable on the back end. But to be honest with you, Phillip, I don't know the answer to your question until we see this team play this weekend against BYU.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
I think that's fair because the way UCF has been playing, they really need to win this BYU series. They really need to at least take a game from Oklahoma State. We just keep talking about it. It's really hard to sweep. I cannot sit here and predict the way UCF has played that they're going to go 6-0 against Kansas and Houston, which means you're going to take a loss that you don't want to take, if not 2 in those last 6 games. You've got to be able to balance those out. And they're sitting okay at 33 in the RPI. They've got some good wins on the resume. They've avoided any quad 4 at the moment. Georgia Southern's all the way up to a top 100 loss. That St. Thomas win was a top 100 win. But you really don't want to be adding a bunch of even sub 50 RPI losses to the resume with where they sit right now. So look, it feels a little bit like it's teetering right now. And it really puts a lot of pressure on these last 4 weeks of the regular season for them and potentially even the Big 12 tournament. So just it's a big weekend, as you said. We'll kind of preview those series coming up here in a minute. I do want to ask us to make some thoughts with 4 weeks left in this season, because it was kind of pitched to me over on the 365 softball Discord, a question about Big 12 Player of the Year, and so I thought, what we should do today? Let's talk about some postseason awards with 4 weeks left to go. I feel like we might have enough data to do so. So let's start with this. Let's start with Big 12 Pitcher of the Year, because we've had conversations about how good different pitchers have been. We all know Nyjah Kennedy. We know how good she is. Ruby Meylan's been really good for Oklahoma State. We know that Korth has been great for BYU. Kenzie Brown for Arizona State. Lea, I'm gonna let you go first here. If you were gonna pick Pitcher of the Year in the Big 12 right now, who would it be?
I think I would hope you guys would agree with me on Nyjah. She's just dominating the game. She's the lowest ERA. I don't know. I think it would be silly not to pick her. I can see how some people might think of, her instead of pitcher player of the year, but she's just doing a lot better pitching than she is hitting. So, and she's not really, we kind of talked about this, Phillip, she's not really focusing much on hitting anymore and more on pitching, which obviously is doing Texas Tech really well. So, yeah, Nyjah.
Bold pick there.
For a second, I was like, wait. I feel like it's black and white. Like it's Nyjah for sure.
Yeah, no, it's hers. I think the more interesting question is who's the runner-up? Who's the one that joins her on the first team? Is it Kenzie Brown? Is it Ruby Meylan? I think you can make a case it's between those two. Is it somebody like an Isabella Vega for UCF? Is it Caitlin Felton? Is it Korth? The cool thing about this from a Big 12 perspective is all these names we just mentioned, except for Felton, are scheduled to be back next year. So I think that's the exciting thing from the Big 12 is this is, again, a young league. I got to emphasize that. It's a young league this year. But, yeah, I mean, Kennedy's the choice. But.
Yeah, no, I think the debate for number 2, look, at the moment, she's the only sub-1 ERA. Korth has struggled some as she's gotten into Big 12 play. She's down to 7th in the conference. Felton and Kinsey Brown are tied for 2nd at 1.16 ERA, followed by Ruby at a 1.21. So the debate between who else's first team is really interesting. I think that might be a good one to have next week. Where it gets interesting to me, and I fear we might all have the same answer because I know after talking with Lea before the show that we have the same one as player of the year because I think Nyjah gets pitcher. I don't think she gets player, but I do think there's another player in this conference who has been both really good in the circle and fantastic with her bat that would be player of the year. And I would pick Devin Netz if the vote came through today. She has been phenomenal for Arizona. And look, again, it's not that her ERA is the best. She's a 2.46. That's currently 9th best in the conference, but she's also really, really good bat. 17th in batting average. No, it's not. Where is it? Oh, I lost it. Why does this do this to me? Oh, because I still have it as an RBI because she's number 2 in RBI in the Big 12 at 48. Devin Netz is, which is ridiculous. Oh, and a batting average that's 16th in the conference. Her bat has been so big. We've seen her in games where she has won the game for Arizona, played both sides. I think Devin Netz is player of the year, and it's going to take a lot for someone to overtake her for me at this point.
I would agree with that. I would agree.
Lea, go ahead.
Yeah, I was like, I'll go.
I would agree with that. I told you it's going to be an adventure with the microphone tonight, with my microphone acting up, folks. It's all my fault. I don't know what's going on with it. It is what it is. It is Netz, who I just had on the podcast a week ago. Great year two-way. Her comeback story is fantastic. I can't really disagree with that pick. I mean, I'm trying to think of who else. Govan for Baylor, who was the preseason pick, got off to a slow start. And I just don't think she can make up the ground. Somebody like that. There's nobody on Oklahoma State that's really in the mix, which is shocking, really. If you would have told me that in February, I said you're crazy.
Yeah.
I tend to agree that I would go with Netz right now.
My gosh, it's the power of friendship. Look at us.
It's just like she's been one of the better bats in the Big 12, one of the best scorers in the Big 12. And oh, by the way, her arm has been phenomenal in the circle. When you're able to do both of those things that well, how do you pick anyone else? Like I don't know how you do that. Where I have the trouble, because I want to ask you this is freshman. I don't feel like we've had the names of freshmen as we've had in the past few seasons. We've seen at Oklahoma State, and even Texas Tech and Texas. We've had and Oklahoma, some phenomenal freshman players. And it's not that we don't have great freshman players this year, but because the conference is so young, you've got so many sophomores and juniors that are making this big impact. I don't feel like there's I don't feel like there's been a freshman who, to me, has really, really stood out as big in the Big 12 play. The only one the only one that I can think of is Brittingham at BYU, who leads the conference currently in RBI, leads the conference in home runs, leads the conference in batting average. She is the best bat in the Big 12. So I would, at this point, I think I might have to just side with her because I can't come up with a better one at the moment. Eric?
Well, this was my some will accuse me of homerism, but there's a
No.
There's a freshman pitcher at UCF.
There goes Eric.
Oh, I can't wait. I had the same issue recording in the Circle podcast, so I'm gonna have to address it. But nonetheless, Isabella Vega has had a fantastic freshman year for UCF in the Circle. You could argue
there we go.
her and Caitlin Phillip been the co-aces for that UCF team. She beat Florida. I know that's not a conference game, but she shut out Florida. Her numbers in conference are very good. The only reason she doesn't have more wins is because of lack of run support. And the one thing she has is she's probably going to have a showcase start next weekend against Oklahoma State. Let's say she pitches a gem against Oklahoma State, and the way she pitched against Arizona earlier in the year, that might give her the nod for for freshman of the year. The funny thing is that also could be decided this weekend in Provo because the two players we've mentioned are going to face each other this week in Provo.
I think it'll be interesting, like you said. We don't have someone like Kavan from Texas, who was like a clear pick. But I had Brittingham. I mean, I've watched her play against Iowa State. And if you look at the stats, like she's leading in so many different categories, it's kind of hard to not look at her as a front runner. But I mean, I have to back with Eric too, even though he loves UCF. I can see her being a clear front runner too for freshman of the year. It'll be exciting to see.
All right. Since Leo is very supportive of me, I will return the favor and give a shout out to Clemens of Iowa State, who sincerely has had a fantastic year. Should get mentioned. I think she's a big glue on that Iowa State team as a freshman. I'm not saying she's necessarily a front runner, but if we want to give a bronze medal or so, or at least just a shout out, she'll definitely be an all freshman Big 12 performer.
1,000%. And I think she could have been in this conversation a little bit more, but she's kind of had a lull once Big 12 started. If she would have been playing the same way she was right in the beginning of the season, it would have been a completely different story. And I think she would definitely be in this conversation. But yeah, she's kind of struggled hitting. But I mean, you kind of talked about it earlier, Eric, like being a young person in college softball, let alone Big 12, like it's a big adjustment period. So, but man, she is a great player. It's fun to watch her.
I'll give you another name to be fair also, because I picked her in the preseason to win this award. Brooke Wells at Houston.
Right.
Been really good for the Cougars there as
She's been great.
Another one to consider under consideration.
And that's a good call. Okay, so let's look ahead to the weekend. We've got our interview with Coach Gajewski coming up here in just a few minutes. It doesn't have the marquee game on it like we've had in some weeks, but I would argue every time we have a weekend so far this season where we don't have what we would call a marquee matchup, things get weird. That's what happens all the time in every sport. We're like, this is the weekend to take off. There's nothing to pay attention to. Nope. That's when you should absolutely pay attention because that's how the sports gods work. Let's run down this, and you should, because Iowa State's going to Oklahoma State. If that one doesn't tantalize you, I don't know what will.
I was going to say that's not a marquee game. Come on.
It's a thorn in my side kind of series in which Leah and I will either text a lot with each other or not at all. So looking forward to that situation.
Well, not to throw gasoline to the fire, but that is not a series Oklahoma State can afford to lose.
No.
Because I have them hosting, but it's a razor thin margin. And if the result from Bedlam looks like the way it is, as we talking about, as Phillip runs away, Leah, Oklahoma State can't afford to drop a game against Iowa State, but they might because they've had some issues with Ruby Meylan, and that could be really take a big balloon and pop there from a hosting standpoint if they drop a game to Iowa State or even lose a series, which they've done last year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Oklahoma State offense, like we talk about the offense with Gajewski, and like, are they going to hit for real? Or are they just going to keep driving little like, here you go, here's the ball to pick up, throw at first base. No problem. Because you look at the Sunday game against Arizona, and Ruby did a phenomenal job against Arizona, and OSU's offense gave her nothing. Like, how many times has Ruby thrown a great game for Oklahoma State and has to take the loss because the offense didn't do her any favors? Like, I just, like, this is not the Oklahoma State team that sweeps teams, and it's Iowa State, who has been a pain for Oklahoma State the last few years anyways. Like, I'll take Oklahoma State 2-1 because they should at least win this series, but they're not gonna sweep Iowa State. Not the way Iowa State has been playing as of late. And that's the other thing. Iowa State has been playing so much better. We've talked about it a lot. Like, Iowa State's going to get one of these because their offense is going to play better in one of these games. Like, Saturday is the scariest game, of course, because the Oklahoma State can't figure out the pitching options behind Ruby. It's just, we're going to throw Crandall and we're going to throw Cuts and we're going to throw Aycock, and hopefully that trio will do it for us. But I just, like, OSU's going to drop a game this weekend to Iowa State.
And, I think Oklahoma State's going to drop 2 games to Iowa State.
I know you do.
There's always one Iowa State wins one, and then there's always one that's always super close. So,
oh yes,
11
inning, Saturday 11 inning,
yep,
nonsense,
a walk off in the, top of the 10th or bottom of the 10th.
Every game's at noon this weekend too, which is
really?
super weird. Yes.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
All 3 games are at noon.
That has never happened before. Why are they doing that?
I don't know. I've checked. I looked at the Big 12 schedule has that way, and I was like, surely not. So I went to Oklahoma State's website to look at the schedule. It's noon, all 3 games.
You should have asked him.
I should have. I had a lot of other questions to ask him other than
that
just like,
were a little
more
important.
Noon? So forgive me if I didn't know that one. Baylor is out of Big 12 play this weekend. They've got a couple of games against Abilene Christian, one on Friday, one on Saturday. We'll skip past that one. Texas Tech, 3 games against Houston in Lubbock, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, look, Houston can maybe we'll put up some runs, but I think Texas Tech just gets another sweep this weekend.
If they're going to put up runs, it won't be when Nigel's pitching, that's for sure. So it's it'll be one game they have a chance. So that's pretty much it.
Maybe. I mean, if you're Texas Tech, you get up big on them. You just put Nigel on the bench in the 4th inning and throw in Riasetto. And
by the way, credit to Lily Walker. I know because Baylor swept Houston. Lily Walker has carried this rotation for Baylor. And you had Glenn Moore talking about their issues in the pitching staff. She has stepped up her game.
Yeah,
Baylor is a team I do not want on my schedule the rest later in the year. I'm telling you right now, that guy can coach. You're gonna have to earn it against him. They're not gonna give it to you. He's starting to figure some things out. It's probably too late for the tournament, but I'm telling you, that is not a team I would want to play in the regular season or in the Big 12 championships if I needed a win from a postseason to improve my resume chances or try to make the tournament. So that's props to him and the Baylor team.
Baylor's in aims to end the regular season, just so Lea knows.
Guys, Iowa State, that's what I'm talking about. That's all I have to say. Next.
Okay, that's good. Arizona on the road at Kansas. Again, it's too hard to sweep teams. It just is. And look, Kansas, we know Kansas. You get solid pitching. You get some good defense. The offense isn't going to give you much. Like, I think Kansas can take one of these. Like, it would not shock me if they took Sunday. That seems to be.
It? Are you calling it?
You know what? Yeah, Kansas steals one. Arizona wins the series, but Kansas steals one.
I think they'll give them a game, but I think Arizona wins. I don't know how Kansas scores on Arizona, and I don't think as well as Bruno has pitched. By the way, she and Brooks have been a nice, quietly 1-2 punch for Kansas. I think Arizona will score enough. I think Kansas' best shot might be that first game. Arizona's trying to figure out how this field looks like. But I'm not betting. I can't bet against the way Nets is throwing and the Wildcats. I think they're a team that is locked in and they know they got to make a big push here to try to be a top 8 national seed. Now, the one thing you have in your favor is, do they get caught looking ahead to Texas Tech next weekend? We'll see.
That's a good point. But I think Arizona's going to sweep Kansas. Sorry.
I'm probably
Sorry,
no, it's fine.
Jayhawks.
I'm probably wrong, but I'm gonna.
No, I like
I'm
the
gonna
way
do it
you
anyways.
think. I like an underdog
Thank you.
story.
I like the way you think too. Okay, we've got Arizona State at Utah. They've got a Saturday and then a Sunday doubleheader.
This is a dangerous spot for Arizona State.
Yeah.
You're right in the position to make the tournament. Everything's going well. Now you got to go to Salt Lake. Weird scheduling. Utah will play well at home. I'm going to pick Arizona State, but I think it's a 2-1 series, and it would not shock me if Utah pulled the upset. This is a dangerous spot for Arizona State to avoid. I think 2 out of 3 win the series, you're fine. You lose this series, you're backpedaling yourself a little bit here. So I'm intrigued to see how Kenzie Brown pitches over there.
That got my heart beating. that got me nervous for them. I think Arizona State's got this in the bag. I think they know what it's going to take for them to make the tournament, and I think they can, it's right in their grasp. I think they're locked in, and so yes, I think Utah will take one, but 2-1.
Arizona State's only got 3 series left in Big 12 because they're the one who gets the week off on the final week of the regular season, and they're off because it's way too hard to schedule something last week of regular season at a conference. Nobody wants to do that, I think. So it's 3 at Utah, 3 against Baylor, 3 at Texas Tech. I do not need my dark horse pick to do the same thing 2 years in a row and be set to make the postseason and then blow it down the stretch. Don't lose to Utah. This is an Arizona State team who's been playing well. It's really hard to sweep. Utah's been playing better. I'm with you. I think Utah steals one, which is not what you really want to do, but I think Utah is going to steal one. Arizona State, 3 games at Utah, a game against Grand Canyon, 3 games against Baylor at home, and then they have to go on the road to Texas Tech to finish the regular season. It's a tricky final 3 weeks of the regular season for Arizona State. Last one to talk about, BYU hosting UCF. We've mentioned it a little bit. This is, I know we joke about Iowa State, Oklahoma State. This to me is the most important series of the weekend for the 2 teams involved because both are in a spot to make the postseason. BYU needs to kind of bounce their resume back up after how they performed last week. They're sitting on the outside, kind of first 4, next 4 out situation right now, both from Eric's bracketology and our good friend Brady Vernon's bracketology, of which we will have the 2 of them on at some point before the end of the season to have a bracketology off. Brady is already on board with it. He texted me after he listened to the show and was like, "Yeah, I'll do it."
As long as Leah's on my side, as long as I got Leah on my side, I'll do it. But only as long as I got Leah's
Eric,
loyalty.
of course. I'm always
you,
on
Leah.
your side. Duh.
We survived.
Brady said he's going to bring the kid on to be his entourage. So you're going to be, small child versus Leah is quite the battle for entourage.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Leah.
Small child versus Leah. What a matchup.
Leah versus cute kid. Okay?
Come on.
I'm going to see if Brady's got a dog to bring on too. That's just not fair.
That's so messed up. I'll remember that.
Leah, clearly Phillip's taking out a lot of frustration on you here.
He's already stressed.
Yeah, he's
I'm not stressed anymore. I was stressed early on. There's nothing to be stressed about anymore.
I just hope you 2 get along after this weekend. Me and Leah had some rough moments in the Iowa State UCF, but we got through it. We got through it,
and we're stronger.
Through. I think we're stronger. We're
friendship
closer friends.
Yes.
Honestly, say we're closer friends. Like if her and I hang out at the Big 12 championships, big hugs.
Right, duh, of course. But Phillip, I don't know right now.
Yeah, that could be rough.
The series hasn't even started, and I can already feel some tension.
We may have to just find a replacement for Leah next week. Give her a week. Give her a week off. She's a busy gal. I think you're one of was it a 30 under 30 that I saw that you were named?
Yes,
like
I
30
was.
under 30
Or I am,
in
I
the
guess.
state of Iowa. I'm just, we're just very proud of you.
Thank
We're very
you.
proud of you.
Thank you.
But big series between BYU and UCF. Okay, we've got Coach Gajewski coming up here in just a minute. Do yourselves a favor. We've got a bunch of links in the show notes that you should go and check out. Of course, the Softball 365 Discord is a fun place to be. So is the Wide Right Natty Light one. You should be listening to the In the Circle podcast. Eric, can you give us a tease as to who's on the show this week?
Sure can. I got Madison Shipman on the show from ESPN, former Tennessee Vol great. Talk about her, some of the things nationally, including her thoughts on the Big 12 a little bit. And then I also joined by Virginia Tech's Bree Peck, who just set the Virginia Tech home run and RBI career record on there. And Victor and I will make some Power 4-1 picks, including a couple of these Big 12 series probably.
Well, but you always do. You gotta have Big 12 series, so there'll be two in there.
That's a guarantee.
Leo, what's going on in the great city of Des Moines? You got to see anything on the fun local community activity calendar to talk about?
No, not really.
Come on, it's April. Surely there's a
Well,
fair.
I don't know about Des Moines, but in the Quad Cities, it's restaurant.
There we go.
It's restaurant week right now, so that's what all my attention's been on. Lots of goodies.
So there we go. All right, so go check out Lea Nelson's TikTok so you can find out where to go eat in the Quad Cities. And then congratulate her on her 30 under 30.
Thanks.
Coach Gajewski coming up next. We'll definitely be back to talk softball next week. We should be back on Monday to wrap up the Big 12 hoops season, if that is of interest to you as well. So thank you as always for listening. Leave us 5 stars. Leave us a nice review. If you're listening on YouTube, like it, leave a comment, subscribe. Y'all enjoy the softball this weekend. Either myself or Lea will not. So just pray for us all.
So good, so good, so good.
New markdowns up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Fresh kicks, spring tops, new dresses. There's always a score.
I mean, the denim section is unreal.
Why do I rack? All the dresses.
I always find something amazing.
Head to your Nordstrom Rack store to find can't-miss deals on all the spring things. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
Look, I love covering the Big 12 as a whole, but you all know me. I'd be lying if I said I didn't look forward to this interview every year. Because as an Oklahoma State fan, it's always great to have an opportunity to sit down and have a chat with the man in charge of the incredible Cowgirl program. He is head coach Kenny Gajewski. Coach G, welcome back to the show, man.
I appreciate it. Love being on here with you, and I'm looking forward to catching up. Absolutely, man. Catching up is a great way. Let's start there because I think I have some questions about this year, and I want let's not jump in hard. Look, you are still got a very young kid at home, balancing that with this job and taking care of the girls here. What's life been like for you in this last year since we last talked?
Oh, it's good. It's great. Life's good. To be honest, I'm still, we've added a little character to our group, which has been great. It's been a lot of fun. He's now 13 months. You put him in with my son, who's now playing college baseball, and my daughter, who's really starting to grow as a little young athlete and turn into a young woman, and watching her want to be involved in sports now. It's like I can see things for her starting to change. It's been a blast. And I'm still like, I get to coach. They pay me to coach. It's wild. So life is good. And it's perspective, right? And I know we're going to talk about all that, but it's perspective. And that's what life is all about, and being able to keep your glass half full. So no complaints here.
It's interesting because you have them so spread out, and I've got 3 between 2 and 6 right now, and so I've got 3 all crammed together. And so I'm like, we are like deep in it with the 3 girls because they're all so young.
Yeah.
but I'm always curious for the perspective of having, got one in college and one that's, still in diapers running around. What is that like having that big of a gap between the ages?
It's difficult at times because I need to be able to give them all what they need. So I need to be able to go see my son. He's he's a little over an hour away. So I need to be able to go see him occasionally. But it's been beautiful to watch him grow up being out of our house and that kind of stuff. I've got a 13 or a 14-year-old daughter. That's not the easiest age. You know what I mean? And, so that's difficult. So she has her own needs, right? And then we've got a baby, and he doesn't have a care in the world. He doesn't care about social media and what other people think and all that kind of stuff. So it's just balancing all that, and then we've got family, right? And then I've got my job, my team, my staff. It's what I love, and the coaching is just part of it, so it's just figuring it out. I mean, it's really day to day. I know everybody in my office wants me to be better with my schedule, and I'm like, I can't. I'm like day to day. Like things change every hour, and so it's like I could be better about making plans a little farther out, but my excuse is, well, it's going to change anyway, so why make plans?
It's man, that is so true. You do your best, and you do today, and you like to plan things out as best you can. But what is it? The line is, you make the plan, you stick to the plan, you expect the plan to fail, and you change the plan and adjust accordingly. And so, no, I think that's great. I think it's a really interesting segue into kind of this year of. You look at, we go into seasons and have expectations externally and of course internally, and sometimes those are aligned and sometimes they're not. I think externally there is really high expectations for this team because of what they did last year and how much came back. Obviously you lost some really key pieces off of last year's team. I mean, Lexi Kilfoyle, especially, and what she was able to do in the circle now that she's there on staff. And credit to her doing a fantastic job with Ryan Breeden doing the road radio calls sometimes this season. It's been fun to hear her on there. But then we get into this season, and it feels like it's more of a season of it's a little bit less decided, I think, at this point in the season. I think some of us kind of thought going into the year, and even after that first game, you've got a coaching staff where you've had Riley Crandall. We'll talk more about her in a minute, where she's had to miss some time with injury. You're relying on Ruby an awful lot out of the transfer portal. You've seen a defense that's kind of made more mistakes than we've kind of expected to see from them the last few years. You've made a lot of changes to your lineup throughout the season. You've moved around from first base to the bullpen to back to third where you usually are. Does it feel like for you this season compared to others where you're still trying to work things out later in the season than usual, or is this really just kind of what things are usually like for you in this program?
I think that we forget how hard the seasons are. We remember the end because it's the end way better than the middle part of the journey or the beginning of the journey. We tend to forget that stuff, and when you're in the moment, things are really hard. And I don't think it's been any different in any other year. I don't think we've had a year where it's just been just cruise right to OKC. That's never been the MO for us at OSU. I don't know for others. I can remember at my years at Florida, it was never like that. Even though we won a lot, we went through stretches where we just didn't play well. So this is the season. For us, we've had some little things that have moved around. Like you mentioned about me, I started in the dugout or at first, and then the dugout and now third. That wasn't anything that Coach Berge wasn't doing. It was like I just couldn't feel like I could be my best me. And this is part of like figuring things out and going through. We've got to, we're managing expectations, which is, maybe it's not new, but it's different because we have some pieces that have never had expectations. We've got, a couple of our sophomores who are going through like finding out that people have a year of film on you now, that if you can't adjust, they're just going to keep wearing it out until you do adjust. And then it creates different pressures. And then, you know, we've done up to this point a really good job with our transfers, of getting them comfy. And we're not quite there yet, but we're starting to. So just a lot of weird stuff. But no excuses. You know, we can use them all. We can, I mean, I can give you all kinds of things. We can talk about all kinds of stuff, the schedule, and we only played 6 home games out of 34 games. I can give you all that. But I'll still going to tell you we're underachieving for who we're capable of being. And I would tell you our kids would say the same thing. So the beautiful thing about this is we still have a lot of games left, and the most important part of our year is still in front of us. And so that's what we have to be reminded of. And that's the way we got to go about this thing. So it's what makes coaching. Has very little to do with softball. It's got a lot to do with a lot of things, and, you know, with many other things outside of our game. So just our journey. It's the journey that we're earning. And we're on, and if we don't like the journey, then we have a chance to turn left or turn right or keep going straight, you know, and that's what we've got to figure out. What's the best roadmap to getting to where this team wants to get to. And sometimes it doesn't look the way you thought. You may hit some construction, and we're in the middle of that construction now.
One of the things this year, obviously, you mentioned Coach Bergeron. I know we had Rosie Davis on earlier this season. Coach Bergie is the name you guys have for him. I'll just call him Coach Bergeron. This has been a change with him kind of taking over at third base for quite some time and taking over the defense, which is the spot that you had been coaching yourself. Kind of mentioned we've seen an uptick in some of the errors this year compared to the last few. Is this still just a learning process of trying to get completely comfortable with some of the things that he's teaching them, which are obviously a little bit different than some of the ways that you have done things in the past?
Yeah, I don't actually think I don't know that I totally subscribe to that. Okay. I think we're about normal. We had I think our defense has actually been pretty good. Our outfield play, which is what I'm coaching, has actually been the worst part of our defense. You know, we went to Georgia, and I think we made 5 errors, and they were all, I believe they were all in our outfield or for the 5. We're not making plays out there like we're capable of. We had a chance to make plays in Arizona that we didn't make. And they were in the outfield. I am very happy. Other than our outfield play, I've been very happy. Our catching has been, we're throwing out a lot of kids. Like Audrey's thrown out 6 of 7 runners. I think Amanda's thrown out about half, which is probably over the normal. So we're doing some really good things there. And then you deal with, we have other things, like a lot of things that go into defense too, are pitchers that execute spots, in location. And we're not doing that, as consistently as a staff as we can. So it puts pressure on other things. So I actually think we're okay there. I think the real issues that we have are offense and somebody stepping up behind Ruby. Those are really our key concerns right now that we're focused on and trying to work through and figure out how to make that go, to be very honest.
You mentioned the offense, and it feels like the hits are there. It doesn't feel like there's a significant decrease in hits. It just doesn't feel like the runs are coming through the way that they have in the past. And
yeah,
obviously Rosie Davis has been awesome. I think she's begotten the reputation of, like, if there's somebody on in a scoring position, she's going to find a way to get them home most of the time. What is it about this year where that's been the struggle? Because you look at, I think you mentioned some of the sophomores and struggles they're having. I think of Carly Godwin, who it's not like her batting average is significantly off from last year. It's just she's getting the hits, but the runs aren't as high, the RBI aren't as high. What is it about this year where that's been the issue? How do we get from, or how do we kind of fix that?
Well, I think, if I had that answer, I'd be writing books.
Fair enough.
But it's been a unique start for us. Like we had this talk the other day, and I had it this morning with Vanessa as well. Or a discussion, not a talk, but we're not walking enough. We're probably not striking out enough, to be honest. That sounds weird. But we're not doing either one of those things enough. And so what it's caused us to be, the result is we're not hitting a lot of balls hard. We're kind of in between. I like to call it, we're in between speeds, where we're putting a lot of balls in play, but not hard. And so that's the mentality that we're in, or the area or place that we're in now. And we've got to get ourselves out of that. We're not hitting enough balls hard for people that have crazy exit velo. We're not seeing that enough. And we're making people aren't making enough errors on us because we're not hitting enough balls hard. We're not putting enough people on their toes. And so when that happens, they're not uncomfy. And so we've got to get ourselves there. We're going to talk about some things here today that we're going to try to adjust on. And it's not philosophy, and it's not our information. It's more of a mentality. And we're going to put some more ownership on these kids. And I think that's how you go about this. You just try to keep turning that dial either way to figure out where the sweet spot is. And hitting is a crazy thing. Like, it's like, if you think about, it's a guy that we talk to a lot. He talks about a teeter-totter. How do you keep it balanced, and just kind of here and here. And a lot of times you get going so good, and you're going so good, and now you're up here, and or you get down here, and you're doing the same things that you were doing, but you got to balance them back out because people are seeing that and pitching you a different way. So it's like, how do I stay balanced, and how do I realize when it starts going the other way, what I've got to do to fight that? So we just got a lot of stuff going. We have still a new team to OSU. We got a lot of new people that are playing that are haven't had expectation before like this. And really the only person that's handling it well is Ruby. She's handling that expectation well. So that's what makes the season great. And that's really where we're at. I'm as frustrated as anyone. But the one thing I can tell you is, man, I love this team. Like, I love them. I mean, and I don't know that they love each other yet. Like I love them. That's part of a team that's molding into the right people and the right group. That's something I'm going to talk to him about here today. And I wish I could tell you that I was the inventor of that right there, but I heard it from Gino after his interview to Holly Rowe. After UConn won a couple of days back, it just hit me. Like, it was after a game. I listened to it. And I was like, man, these guys they like each other. They're all good, but I don't know that they love each other the way you have to love each other to win the final game. And maybe that's not what this team wants. I don't know. That's what they say, but doing that is really difficult and lonely and hard. And if you're not willing to go there, then you're probably just willing to be a postseason team, not be a contender in the final 8.
That's really interesting. I know how culture is a buzzword that gets thrown around a lot in sports. I think I've mentioned this to another coach previously, of like, especially in football and stuff. And it does feel like I don't know what it is. It feels like in softball, it's more important. Almost like the smaller your roster is, sometimes culture is even more important than the big ones, which you'd think be the other way around. And I know that culture for you is huge. I think it goes into a lot of your decisions. Obviously, who you bring in as far as players, who you bring in as far as staff. I think that's a big part of why we see Carrie Everly and we see Vanessa Shippey, 2 former players here on staff for you. You see so many former players stay around to be grad assistants and so on and so forth, because that they play such a big role and have that experience in the culture that you built there. Do you feel like that culture now has I don't want to say self-sustaining, but it's established enough that you're not having to reinvent it every year, or you're not having to completely coach it from the ground up every year? Or is this such a young roster, because you've got so many sophomores and juniors and transfers in who are new to this roster, that maybe it doesn't feel as established as it has in past years when you've had rosters who were there for their entire 4-year career?
It's a great question. And I'm going to give you a very honest answer, because that's the way I feel. And yeah, culture is not self-sustaining unless you have a lot of the same kids that are turning over on your roster, right? And our roster right now, because it's very difficult to recruit to Oklahoma State, is we have some turnover because of the transfer deal, and that's the way we've been able to do a win. And I think I've made a little bit of a misstep this year in assuming, because of the way this team gets along, that the culture is self-sustaining. I don't like the word culture either. I say health.
Okay.
I think our health, I feel like I want it to be self-sustaining, but I think when you look at everything, there are no days off. You have to just keep working at it no matter what. And so just going through this stuff, I think I've made a little bit of misstep in the fact that I think it's there. But I heard one of my former student athletes that's now on staff, Maddie Sue Montgomery Simpson now, after a game on Saturday night, she said, "These guys don't get how we built this place." And that hit me not very good. Like, I didn't like hearing that, but it's true. And the reason I didn't like hearing it is because the truth hurts. And that's something that we're going to address here today as a team. And I think that's just, it's never too late. It's never not a good time if you feel like that. And if I have former players that are now full-time staff here watching, the reason I like these guys to be around here is because they know the expectation. They lived it. They love it. They liked it so much they want to stay around and work here. Like, that's why that's so powerful. And for to hear that out of their mouth hurts me. Like, not hurts me to be mad at them. It hurts me to go, dang, where did I go wrong? Where did I miss? And how come these kids don't understand that completely? And it doesn't mean that they're bad kids. It means we failed them, somewhere, but it's not too late to get that right. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of this. There's I don't ever take an approach of, well, next year. I'm not worried about next year. I'm worried about right now. You know what I mean? I'm worried about what's under our feet. So that's the beauty of this. And I think when you can be vulnerable and say those type of things, it's really powerful. So I just think it's just constant work. And when things aren't going well, it's easy to start looking around and going, what do we want to blame? Well, I like to just get in the mirror and go, well, okay, well, what are we not doing that we've done in the past? Or what does this team need? Because this team is very different than last year's team. And next year, we're going to return almost this whole team. And it'll be very different than this year's team. It's just the way it is. And so that's what makes really good coaches, is being able to, as a group, for all of us to be able to see what your current team needs, not what you've always done. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always be who you've always been. And I don't want to be like that. I want to be what the best version for this team and what this team needs.
It's a really interesting thing you said there, because you have 5 seniors on this roster, and so barring a bunch of transfer portal exits, like the majority of this roster will be back next year, especially the majority of the players that we're used to seeing on the field each game. And so from an outside perspective, from a fan perspective, you think, okay, so that they should just it's the same team. You're going to bring in a few new players, they'll adapt and we'll get going. And so being reminded that, even if you bring back 90% of your roster, 95% of your roster, that doesn't mean it's the same team. It's a new team every year, because you are just because the names are the same, they are new people at the start of next season than they were at the start of this last season, even the end of this season, because they're still off season. There's still things to learn and develop as people and players. And so it's a good reminder that just because a team was this last year doesn't mean that's who they are. We are always changing and evolving, or we should be, right? Like that. I think that's an important thing for all of us, is to never be still. Obviously, we can take a break here and there, but I think as people, it's important to be changing and growing and adapting. I want to talk about Ruby a little bit. Obviously, she has been phenomenal for you guys this season. I think she's having arguably her best season. Coach Carrie Eberly has been great with her. Her drop ball has been fantastic. I mean, you have had to play her, I think, a bit more than you probably had planned to coming into the season. And I know that she's been quoted saying like she's happy. She wants to be in the circle. She wants the ball in her hand. I think most pitchers feel that way. But her pitch count's getting up. I think it was 558 pitches over the last 2 weeks, if I did the math correctly. I mean, are you guys worried about her usage at this point in the season?
Well, I'm not worried about her usage at this point. But if we have to keep going at this rate, it has a good chance to wear her down at the end. She is in tremendous shape. And she is human though. And the human body can only take so much. What that is, I don't know. It's different for every athlete. But I do think that finding that number 2 kid is important, and that takes some pressure off of her. And maybe it's 2, 3, and 4, but right now we're trying to. It's just like a juggling act behind her. Crandall's back healthy,
which is huge.
It's huge. We're trying to help her. Help her kind of see some things that she needs to make some little adjustments on. So it's a work in progress there. Coots got off to a great start, right? And then it's kind of faltered here of late. Things that she can fix. Kyra's had a real struggle the last year and even into this year. She's dealt with a lot of arm problems and trying to kind of remake herself, and it's been very hard. She just has some mechanical things that don't sync up always, and so it makes it very tough. So it's been very hard. It's been more difficult than how we thought it was going to go, and it doesn't mean that's how it'll continue. It just means that that's what it is right now. But if I am that is in my mind about Rube, about hey, we got to be careful here. So that is in the back of my mind, and that's why you see like. On Saturday, it's why we got run ruled. I could have put her in and that wouldn't have happened. But we got to figure some things out, and it may look ugly until we get that right. And I'm okay with that. I am. It doesn't feel good. But nothing, when you lose, it doesn't feel good. And you got to get some, I like to call it short-term pain for long-term gain, right? I mean, we got to go through it. And unfortunately, we're going through it in the middle of a year through the meat of our schedule. It's been hard. And what's wild? Ruby was going so good. No, I didn't get one question about Riley for 4 weeks. Not one person asked me how come she's not throwing.
I think everyone's a little bit they didn't want to ask, right? Because you're not sure, is it injury, is it performance, is it mental, is it something else? Like, do we want to broach this subject? Because had she not been back, that was on my list of questions for today with our interview.
Yeah, nobody was. I had not had to answer that one time until she came back, and I was like, this is weird. Like nobody's even asking me about it, and we've got on media day here. We have 6 to 8 guys here. Or people here, asking stuff. And I was just like, man, this is crazy. So anyways, it's just kind of a weird thing. So we're going to we're keeping an eye on Ruby. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to start to get Crandall going more and more. It's just like I told her, and she's frustrated with me and the situation now. But like, I mean, she's a kid. Like she's never been through this. and they don't understand. They're just being told at home that they need to be throwing more and this and that. And I mean, if people want to come watch, they can come watch. Our practices are open here. You can come watch. Like, we're doing what's best for our team. And nobody knows that better than us because we're here with these kids each day. And we do have a plan. And the plan, if at the end of the year it doesn't work, then I'll be the first one to say, hey, our plan was terrible. We just let somebody down or these kids down. But I don't buy in, we know to that. The plans are hard, especially if they don't include you being the number one or getting the ball more than you wanted or getting more at bats or all that. It's hard. So it's getting these kids to buy in. And we spend a lot of money here and a lot of time and a lot of effort on investing into development. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that here in my time here. And so I'm going to stick with the plan. Even though it's hard at times, we're going to stick with that plan. And if it doesn't work, we will be the first ones to adjust.
You mentioned money, which is a great transition for me here. Continue to see, at least externally, it feels like there's becoming more and more investment in the program. You guys are adding more seats out at the stadium. I know that there was a mock-up of a brand new stadium a couple of years ago that was kind of out there. Is the external view correct? Does it feel like this Oklahoma State is continuing to invest in this program? And obviously, I don't expect you to have all the answers because no one does on this. But as we continue to see sports change and conversations about how players are going to be compensated through NIL or through the university or through donors, do you feel like Oklahoma State is setting softball up for as best success as it possibly can?
Yeah, I do. Without a doubt. I mean, the way we're going to handle the rev share and the addition of scholarships, do I want more? Yeah, I want more. I would think that every coach you talk to is going to say, yeah, I'd like more of all of it. Right. They continually invest in this program with coaching and positions and salaries and all that kind of stuff. The one thing that we're lacking is just the facility. I'm frustrated at times, and that's normal. But I think my frustrations are warranted. We're adding seats, but like our deck in left field is just going to be open this weekend. And like, in my opinion, that should have been done before the season had started, right? And we were supposed to have a new scoreboard up here, and it's not up yet. Be here any day, but then it's going to take another couple weeks to get it up. So is everything perfect? No, and it's not perfect at OU. It's not perfect at Florida. It's not perfect at Texas. All these top teams like LSU, it's not. It's not. It's hard. So we have what we need to continue to develop and win. But it's like anything, you can't sit still for a moment. And the problem is, we got a football coach who thinks the same thing, and a men's basketball coach that thinks the same thing, and a baseball coach and a track coach. We all feel the same way. So I can only speak for our program, but I'm happy that we keep pushing. And I thank God each day that I have a sport administrator who I have, because without him, we wouldn't. He's the guy that helps me push. And I'm very thankful that I've got him, and it's very thankful that I have the staff I have, because they think like me. We're not satisfied. It doesn't mean we're ungrateful. It just means you can't sit still, otherwise you get passed up. And I don't. Once you sit, you become a dinosaur, and you become a dinosaur, man. You become extinct. So I don't want that, and that's why we keep pushing the ball downhill.
You mentioned the lack of home games. We're all very aware of the way the schedule, a lot of stuff on the road. You guys are finally back home this weekend against Iowa State, a team that has been a little bit frustrating to face, but we'll set that aside. Well, I'm gonna have a really fun time with my co-host here, who is Lea Nelson, is a former Iowa State player. I'm sure she's got something locked and loaded for me. But what was it when putting this schedule together this season that led to, we really didn't have a non-conference. I mean, typically you guys have had your non-conference weekends, Mizuno Classic in the past. You've had a 3-game series against Florida State. What was it about this year where we just didn't have the home games on the schedule until, now?
Yeah, it's just hard to get teams to come here. It's hard to get to. We've got a lot going on. I had a tournament that we were hosting with Tulsa that fell apart. We had they were supposed to be at home that whole week, and it fell apart late. We have teams that will want to be part of the tournament, but don't want to play Oklahoma State for whatever reason. I don't know. And you'll have to ask them. We had the fires here that cost us two games against Houston. So we've had different things that have happened. So we could have, our home games could have been, we could have had 2 more, which would have made it 8. We could have had, 3 to 4 more games in that tournament, which would make it, 11 to 12, which would have been right about on par for where we normally are. So it just becomes harder. It's harder to schedule. People are cutting budgets. It's just becoming harder to get teams here. So we're working on that now. But again, I don't want to just play anyone, to be very honest. I guess some people are okay with just going and playing anybody, but losing OU and Texas out of our league, we've got to make sure that we get those games somewhere. And so I got to make sure that I go find those type of games. So it's just, scheduling is the hardest thing that we do. And we got to keep on it.
Yeah. Having chatted with Baylor coach Glenn Moore, they've had the same problems of trying to get weekend series and non-conference and having to, I hate to use the word settle for opponents that maybe wasn't their first or second or even third choice in some senses.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a difficult thing when everybody wants to just go to Florida and Arizona and California. I want to, first of all, thank you so much for today. This has been awesome. An incredible interview as always. We've been wrapping up our interviews each week with just a few quick and kind of fun questions to handle things. So number 1 is going to be, if you were a player today, what would be your walk-up song?
I would probably have Zach Bryan. We have a gate. You have to open up a gate to walk out to the field. Probably so that, I don't even know if it's what the song is called, but it just says open the gate and he sings. I don't even know the song. I'm terrible with songs and stuff, but I like a lot of old school rap too. So I'd probably use some old school rap. Okay. Some real rap.
Real rap. Oh, okay. Real rap.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Peanut butter and jelly. What's your jelly of choice?
Oh, strawberry.
Strawberry. Okay. We've got quite a few. I think got a lot of honey, a lot of strawberry, and a lot of grapes so far. Which is, we've always got blackberry in our house. My kids.
I like blackberry a lot. That's a great one. You just don't see it a lot. So
no.
But yeah, if I'm a strawberry guy.
I'll tell you, we have blackberries that grow wild behind our house, and so my neighbor will bottle some up. So I'll see if I can get you a jar.
That'd be awesome.
Okay. What is, first of all, your hat collection? I think might be the envy of all Oklahoma State softball fans, because we are all constantly on social media crying out for more great cowgirl hats. I don't have it on the wall, but I did finally get a script cowgirl hat for this season.
Awesome. We'll send you one.
Okay.
Send me an address. You text me your address and I'll get you a hat.
All right. We'll trade a hat for jelly. I'll get you some once they start growing.
All right.
But OSU fans just want to buy more cowgirl hats. They want more cowgirl merch. How do we make that happen?
Yeah, so the hats we're currently wearing are brand new. I had some samples last year that we were fine tuning them to get them just right, and then it'll be up to the End Zone and Chris's University Spirit and the bookstore, like those type of stores, to start ordering the same hat. The End Zone has had a lot of cowgirls hats, and they have some in right now. They don't look like our game hat, but they do have those. Chris's has them as well. I've been seeing them carry more. We've been trying to get those guys to carry more. The bookstore has our blue hats in that say Cowgirls, but it's more like it's more like a college kid hat, that flimsy kind of type style, not one I would wear in a game, but our female coaches do wear them. So they have those. But the actual game hat that like Bergie and I wear, and our male staff, they are not for sale yet. They're a Nike hat. And so they're ordered a different way.
Okay.
And so, got to be special to have one of those hats. That's what I tell everybody. Hey, you gotta do something. So,
okay. All right. We mentioned non-conference. If there's one team you would love to schedule a home non-conference series or a game or come out for a tournament, who would it be?
Oh, it's who we're playing Wednesday night. OU. Yeah. I mean, you want to play the best, right? And that's what I want to do. I mean, we're going to be playing Texas in a week or so. We went to Georgia. I'd play my buddy Tim at Florida anytime. They're always great games, and we're going to get exposed, and that's what you learn, when you play these type of teams. So those are the type of teams that you want to play. A&M's, we got to play them in Clearwater, and UCLA's. I mean, I want to play all those top teams. Arizona. I mean, I want to play them. I want to face Nyjah. We've done that. Want to face Jordy Ball. We've done that. That's what I want to do. So I don't have to wish. We tend to go chase them and go find them, and it doesn't always end up good. But winning, if you're learning when you win, you're doing good, and I think we're doing that.
All right, last question. We'll get you out of here. Who's the biggest trash talker on the team this year?
Oh man, biggest trash talker. Probably Cheese or Ruby.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very okay. I have to ask because I don't know. Where did the Cheese nickname come from?
Just from she smiled all the time, so she's cheesing. So
okay, she's
had that her whole life. So yeah, it's funny.
That's good. I heard it the first time on the radio call on one of the road games and just went, wait, what? Who?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It's like, okay. All right.
I don't even know if I've called her by her real name. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So.
Coach, again, this is always a pleasure. Love having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck to your girls the rest of the season. And I hope the season ends the way you'd love for it to.
Appreciate you having us on here, and appreciate what you guys do.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
This weekend, only at Macy's, it's our lowest prices of spring. How low? Diamond rings, pendants, and earrings, only $399, originally $1,500. Ninja blenders, now $89.99. And $395 men's designer suits, only $99.99. So if you're wondering why you should shop Macy's lowest prices sale, well, the name pretty much says it all. It's our lowest prices for one weekend only. Starts tomorrow at Macy's. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.